Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very interesting session on nuclear energy. If you saw today's paper, particularly the Business Standard, it talked of a nuclear rebound that is happening across the world. We will discover whether it's happening in India, and particularly in one area, which is the small modular nuclear reactors, SMRs as they're called. Taking the size of our nuclear reactors, our largest, I think, is 1,000 megawatts. There are a lot more experts here to say that. And when we talk of small, we're talking of 200 megawatts. Just to put things in perspective, India's nuclear energy, despite the fact that it is one of the most important energy-producing industries in terms of our decarbonized future, it only actually at the moment supplies 3% of our total electricity generation. I think they're close to 24 nuclear reactors functioning, around 8,700 megawatts, and 21 more are under construction, and that'll add another 15,300 megawatts. That's the broad figures, just laying it down. But I think one of the things that while we have a range of nuclear reactors, we have heavy water, light water, and now we're going to advanced breeder reactors, and hopefully that will come through, the fast breeder reactors and thorium-based reactors, which is our plan ahead. But in the meanwhile, there's been this very, very interesting development that's happened across the world, which is this, the demand for what is called the small modular nuclear reactor. They're much smaller in size, supposedly compact, factory built as compared to the others, flexible, low cost, that's the claim. And this is seen as the big frontier for nuclear energy. They promise faster deployment, possibly safety, I don't know, that's something that we need to look at. And India has taken this up very seriously. The government has actually announced something like 20,000 crore rupees to develop this new mission that they're talking about, the nuclear energy mission. And interestingly, the act is being modified to bring in private participation in a big way. Private participation in nuclear reactors was there, but it is coming in a big way, and that's one of the big modifications that's happening. And so there's also a move to deepen international partnerships on this front. With that background, we have very, very eminent speakers to discuss this. Let me very quickly, Dr. Ravi Grover, member India Atomic Energy Commission, one of the most experienced and versatile negotiators we've had. He, in fact, was one of the prime negotiators for India's US nuclear deal that happened a decade or two ago. We have Mr. V. Rajesh, Director Technical, Nuclear Power Corporation of India, who's going to be, I think, partly entrusted with this whole job. Mr. Alok Mishra, Country Director, Westinghouse India, and Professor Rajiv Nayan, Professor of at the Center for Peace and Conflict Resolution at JAMA Millia. So a very distinguished panel, but I'm going to come to you, Dr. Grover, on this particular question, because let's get to realism on this. And I think that's the crux. Does India's emerging SMR roadmap meaningfully fit into our energy planning? Are they cost effective? And what are the hard constraints, fuel supply, technology maturity, that could slow down our SMR deployment?
Thank you. First of all, thanks to India Today and you for giving me an opportunity to talk to this large audience who is interested in being present even after lunch. Well, I think we have to look at this question in the overall context of development of the country. India's Human Development Index, which represents development very well, it correlates very well with per capita energy consumption. India is a part of the grouping G20, where many countries have HDI above 0.9. If India wants to have an HDI of 0.9 or above, we need certain amount of energy, and this we can plot a graph between HDI versus per capita energy consumption of various countries and come to know about it. And we did that exercise, and we find that to have an HDI of 0.9, India will need something like 24,000 terawatt hour of energy per annum total. I'm talking this total energy expressed in electrical units, industry used for electrification, industry used in energy used in steel, in plastic, in fertilizers, in all industries together. Current value, which India is 7,500 or in that range. So we have to make an availability of energy has to go up by 3.2 times. And if you see CAGR of last 10 years, we have been growing at the rate of about 5% or so. And if we continue to grow at that rate, that particular CAGR, we'll be able to reach this number in about maybe 2070, 2080, around that time frame. But there's a catch. Decarbonization imperative tells us that we have to not only grow, we also have to decarbonize. That means energy mix has to change from the current fossil heavy to low carbon energy sources. And what are the low carbon energy sources? Solar, wind, nuclear, and hydro. All these produce only electricity. So we have to go in for electrification of end uses. Current electrification is 22.8%, and this has to go to something like 60%. So electricity has to grow up very much. Considering this large growth requirement in electricity, do we need the small reactors or do we need large reactors? This is a big question we have to answer. My answer will be that we should go for as large reactors as possible because they are cost effective. Lower the size, tariff goes up. Capital cost per megawatt goes up moment we have a small size reactor. So we should go for as large reactor size as possible, as feasible, so as we can provide electricity to the citizens of this country at affordable rate.
Can I just ask you one question on this? Is that when you say the cost of, take a look at the cost of a large reactor and a small reactor, how do they match up in terms of per megawatt, and how does it benefit the country if you go for the larger one?
In India, we have experience for 220 megawatt PSWRs and 700 megawatt PSWR. I request Rajesh to give those exact figures from NPCI.
Let's start.
So he will,
you sort of bounced the question off to Rajesh, which anyway I was going to ask him about this one. So let's get to that particular question. One of course is looking at the cost. How cost effective are these small nuclear reactors? Why don't, as Dr. Grover says, let's just build the big ones? Why do we need so much more power? How does this really help us? I think that's the big question that we need to look at. And of course, standardized designs. You have multiple reactors running around, and that's the same problem the Indian Air Force has. You have different fleets of different jets, and you have problems of maintenance as a result of that. So tell us firstly on the cost aspect.
Yeah, before the cost aspect.
Can you just speak closer to the mic?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this. In fact, today's, this panel's headline was small is beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. But you should understand that beauty is only skin deep.
Okay. It's only skin deep.
Skin deep. Okay. So small modular reactors are not attractive as we see in the newspapers or in the news.
Right.
For an end user or whomsoever is interested in this buzzword of small reactor, his wishful thinking will be like everything should be factory built, like you were also initially telling. No site work, absolutely. And second thing is, there was an earlier proverb that fill it, shut it, and forget it. Like you put the fuel, it will keep on running for 5-10 years or something like that. Okay, these two things will remain only in paper, and it is theoretically also not possible. Now, practically, what a small modular reactor should be is that it should be what you call exclusion zone free. Means there should not be any accident, postulated accident, nothing should be there. And this theory to be put into a practical, it is far from, as on today, it is distant. It is a distant dream. Now, as far as the, like Grover sir was telling, our country requires both small modular reactors probably once it is developed and achieved a maturity, but large reactors NPCL is constructing as of now. And whatever recent completed units of 700 megawatt in Kakrabar and Rajasthan, it is of the order of 16 crore per megawatt. And the unit energy cost of Rajasthan 7 and 8, what we have commissioned is 4 rupees 83 paise or something like that. And probably the new ones which may start, it will be in the range of 20 crore per megawatt only. So this will be the cost aspect of this.
For the small?
For these 700 megawatt PSWRs.
And when you come to small?
And when you come to small modular reactors, as of now, that part is not known. It will be definitely not that attractive. That's what I could perceive as of today.
So would you say twice the cost? Like you're saying 20 crores per megawatt? Would it be?
Even an estimate will be difficult to say as of today, because nothing is seen, only in drawing it is seen.
Okay, I'm going to take that to our Westinghouse representative here. And Alok, would you come into this one? You've been trying to get your projects off. There's a lot of delays. There are political issues. There's social issues in getting projects up in this country. Public protests, concerns about safety. Apart from that, getting the appetite might have been lessened. What has your experience been? And do you see SMRs as any sort of relief to this technology that is bringing, or are we mixing things up in this?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to the India Today to giving me this wonderful opportunity to be here and present my thoughts. You know, we talk a lot about SMR, and probably in the year 2012, I did a global trip to sell an SMR. Okay?
2012.
To various countries.
Yes, okay.
And there were no takers. At that point of time, the SMR was an integral PWR. And there were just no takers. Many of the utilities came forward and asked me, Alok, what happens? Is a compact one. If something wrong goes on, it is compact, the tolerances are very high, and they very tight, and maintenance could be an issue, and maybe the reactor has to be written off if something cannot be fixed. So none of these utilities were coming forward, and Westinghouse, though is started the nuclear power business in the world, the first nuclear reactors at Shippingport was in 1957, and the first nuclear submarine by Westinghouse was in 1954. And as you know that we don't operate reactors, we build the reactors for the utilities. And then we had our head scratching kind of things, and then we thought what to do. Then we thought probably we have an AP1000 reactors, which is fully modular. We thought why not to scale down the AP1000s to AP300 and try to see that if we could have takers for that. And our current generations of SMR is an SMR AP300 design, which produces about 330 megawatt of electricity and a net of about 300 megawatts. The beauty of these reactors is that it is a load-following reactors with flexi-power operations. Our ramp-up and ramp-down rates are about 5% per minute. Apart from that, the reactor is being designed to cohabit with other industries. Of course, the regulators has to take the final call, but that's the aspirations of the designer. The AP300 will have the same supply chain that of the AP1000s. It will be smaller, cute little one, easier to be built and handled because the size is small. We expect our AP300 probably could be built in about 36 months and could provide flexi power operations and complement the renewals to a great extent.
Alok, has a plant come up and functional? Has anyone really bought it, or what is the?
There's an interesting question. As you all know that, and already Dr. Grover has already mentioned, and I also must emphasize that these large reactors offer significant advantages and are essential for us achieving economy of scales. We should set up large reactors where we could potentially. However, small reactors and the micro reactors aim to disrupt the status quo of the nuclear industries. And probably they will be built later in this decade. The current focus has shifted towards small reactors, and private capital would drive the constructions of new plants because these are all small ticket items. These smaller modular units serve as a lower risk, small ticket investment, faster constructions, and load follow characteristics to complement renewables, making them particularly attractive for mobilizing private capitals in the nuclear sectors. When we talk about...
I'm going to come back to you. I just want to give Rajiv a chance to weigh on to, he's been anxiously wanting to get in. I thought I'll ask you the geopolitical question, but what were you sort of, this thing? I mean, one of the things they talked about was that this could be a great export product if we develop, and we have already nicknamed ours as the Bharat SMR. I think that's under development under the atomic energy body, but what is your sense of this whole thing? Do you see potential, or are we going up the wrong alley in this one?
No, I will not say. I'll agree with Dr. Grover, but it's a new baby, and it has excited the world. Like when this concept was discussed a few years ago, we all were skeptical. We were living in the nuclear skeptical age, especially after Fukushima, and this was somehow halted the nuclear renaissance which we had talked about. But over the years, it appears resolving many of the knotty issues. More and more countries are joining, and they are rethinking about all the complex issues which were thrown out, which are being thrown out now, and which may come in the way, because it is hardly a couple of reactors have come into operation. So this technology has to mature, but many more projects are on, and they are really generating interest in many newcomers, or you can say newly aspirant nuclear countries. So this is one part. So I agree with Dr. Grover that this is a vast landmass. So what is the use of a small and modular reactor? But since technology is coming, we have planned, as you rightly mentioned, we have planned to invest 20,000 crore rupees in this field, and export business will be there. And there are many areas which are being talked about. I heard about artificial intelligence in the last session. It is highly energy consuming industry. So in United States, which had got problem, still has got problem, is thinking about this kind of technology. Can one complex maybe fueled, or you can say, or powered by this kind of reactor? Canada is already experimenting with the mining sector. We already know that this could be useful for remote areas, smaller islands, which everybody is talking about that. So I think there is no harm in using, and we have got experience. We have already showed or demonstrated our capability in 700 megawatt, and we just talked that soon our fast breeder reactor will be operational and critical.
Hopefully.
Mars, they are very hopeful.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
And so we can use our technology maturity, and it is just expansion of earlier generation, where light water reactors or others, so we can use it.
We've got about 12 minutes, so I just want to speed up the discussions. Dr. Grover, you wanted to say something on that, and I'm also going to ask you one more additional point. Space has opened up considerably to private sector. Nuclear has, in the sense reactors are being built, many of the parts of the reactors are being built, but it continues to be owned by the public sector. Do you think it's time now, just as in space, where today I can own a rocket, build a rocket, own a satellite, launch a satellite, is it time now for us to move on that direction in nuclear? And because small nuclear reactors actually are demanding private investment, is that a great incentive for them to come in? What is your sense of that? And whatever you wanted to say.
In response to what is being said is that when engineers initially talked about small and modular small reactors, the idea was to bring in totally new advanced technologies, which can be implemented only in smaller sizes. One example of that is molten salt reactors, a technology which was initially tried in the US in 1970s, and later on it was given up by them because of reasons which are not exactly technical. China has picked up that technology again, and they have set up a 2 megawatt research reactor already, which became critical last year, and this year again it was in news because of conversion of thorium to uranium-233 and moving forward. Similar system has been designed in Europe. Similar system has Canada also is thinking in terms of this technology. So this is a technology where you can make 50 megawatt units, 100 megawatt units, use thorium and proceed further. And BARC also has a 2 megawatt design on the drawing board, which will be constructed at the Vizag campus of BARC. This is a technology for SMRs going forward. This is just one example. In general, about SMRs, though I said that economy of size demands large reactors, but again, as we have seen technology hype curves, which were first postulated in maybe 1994-95, every technology, and when new technology comes up, expectations go very high.
You said a hype curve. That's
hype
the word.
curve.
Okay.
I think it was known as Gartner's hype curves.
Okay.
And it has critics, it has also adherents.
Right.
Hype is such that expectation go very high. It reaches top of expectation, then the reality sinks in. We go to trough of disillusionment.
Where have we reached on the SMR?
And we are at the moment at height of expectations. Trough of disillusionment, then you start going up and some realistic level sets in. That is what will happen to SMRs also. There will be a realistic level where currently we are saying it will do every possible thing.
Right.
It will do certain things, and those certain things which it can do, we have to harness them. But very small reactors like micro reactors or reactors less than 100 megawatt, they are, one doesn't expect them to be economically viable. But when you come to the range of 300, 500 range, the way 490 megawatt Rolls-Royce is or 300 megawatt Westinghouse is, there is a possibility that at some stage they will become economically viable and they can be proceeded further. Coming to private sector participation, the current situation in India is that as far as the supply chain is concerned, everything is done by private sector. Mm-hmm. Fuel is fabricated by nuclear fuel complex and heavy water is produced by heavy water board, both of which are government establishments. But otherwise, complete manufacturing chain is with the private sector. Now the government is thinking of ramping up nuclear generation. So the plan is, okay, we can bring in private sector, they can bring in capital and construct reactor probably faster. And this is something we'll have to wait how the amendment comes up. This is a work in progress, and maybe it will take some time before us to really see. But while I say this, I like to add that in countries, many countries like France, China, Russia, nuclear is with the public sector and it is flourishing there. So we have both examples. In USA, it is in the private sector. In China, Russia, and France, it is in the public sector. China, to ensure competition, there are two nuclear companies, both in the both are PSUs. There's a competition between them, and
so
they are
it's
able
largely
to move
public
forward.
sector development that you're
Yes,
saying.
yes.
Now, Rajesh, I want to bring you into this thing. One of the issues is safety. Right? When we talk of nuclear, we're always thinking about safety. You know, you're always in the back of your mind. You have Fukushima's there, and earlier we've seen other problems that's there. But fortunately, India's in terms of that hasn't really. Its track record has been good. If you take a look at small modular reactors, and if it gets into the private sector also, that's the other point. I'm not saying that private sector is inefficient on these, but that's a concern both from the security and the safety point of view. How safe are these small reactors, and what is the degree of difficulty you have when you start reducing the size versus a large reactor and its ability to prevent any accidents, unwanted accidents from happening?
See, extraordinary design has to go into the small modular reactors to make it the so-called concept of accident-free concept or zero exclusion zone. And for this, you have to have robust mechanisms, which is not at what you call put into place so far. You know, what we use in strategic like submarines or other things may not be useful over here because there the design philosophy may be different as per that. But now, what you call, in India, regulation also has to develop. In fact, universally also develop, regulation has to develop as with respect to the small modular reactors. which is not matured as on today. So large reactors, all technologies NPCL is having, boiling water reactor in Tarapur 1-2, light water reactor in Kodangulam, and PSWRs, it is fully indigenous. All 700 megawatt is fully indigenous.
No, my question is very specific.
Yeah.
Is it a much more difficult thing to maintain safety in a small reactor? Easier to handle a bigger reactor? Or, is the size doesn't make a difference at all?
See, size may not make a difference at all. Once it is having a robust design.
Right.
Size doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Yes, you wanted a quick one. And then I'm coming to you, Alok.
Add something that safety we have to consider, but we also have to consider security. Physical security of nuclear materials and facilities. We cannot scatter our nuclear assets all around the country. When we have small reactors, we have to have several of them at the same location. So this becomes very important. We know, I think, maybe Rajiv can talk more about the geopolitical situation in the country. You cannot scatter nuclear assets everywhere around. We have seen just what happened a few days back.
Correct.
People are saying that you remove exclusion radius altogether. Currently, it is 1 kilometer, make it 0. I think our security agencies will never allow us to do that. Okay. That is determined by security agencies, not by on technical grounds.
All right, I'm going to get Alok into this. Alok, do you see the Indian nuclear market mature? We were talking of exports. Do you see Westinghouse seeing India as a big area for you all to develop and therefore beginning to export to countries like Africa and other kind of things, nuclear power facilities? Do you see a potential for your company to use India as a staging ground for a lot of these things?
Well, let me try to put it in a different context. Let us see what are the things which are at good state in India. We have reasonably impeccable records of efficient operations of the nuclear power plants.
True.
Fantastic.
All credit to NPC
and which is
the atomic energy. Yeah.
And which is definitely, and which is not in good state, is essentially to quick capacity additions of these plants. So these are the two things. And India is a mature country. If you look at historically, most of the countries which got into nuclear power, they started with research reactors, essentially to understand the process and methods and procedures how to handle radioactivity. We also start that way.
We will not talk of the other story we did, but that's okay. Right.
So that is how
great dual use for any of these things. But
we graduated for the power reactor programs.
Right.
And we are doing extremely well.
So do you see Westinghouse use...
Let me get in there.
I'm just worried about the time.
And the fantastic part is that we have an active supply chain. Many of the countries for nuclear do not have an active supply chain. Westinghouse wants to leverage on the Indians' talent pool and the capabilities over here. And we are trying to select potential suppliers who could be our part of our global supply chain. And we also have an SMR AP300 technologies. We are making in consortium paid partners who could be, the technology could be accessible to them. It will be a kind of a transfer of technology to them. So to this august audience, I will say that if anybody of the companies or a group of companies forming an Indian consortium would like to join Westinghouse, probably that chapter is open for SMR AP300.
That's a great offer. To you come, Rajiv, the last...
What I want to say that the issue raised by Dr. Grover about nuclear security business. In fact, when this idea was being discussed initially about 10 years ago, when it really started gaining momentum, and people started, then this issue really came up. You are having higher cost on security for lower electricity or power generation or nuclear energy generation. So this was a fact. Then came the issue, or many gave several solutions. And one of the solution was, you talked about 3 years or 4 years of loading period. But technologies are getting modified or getting improved, and then you can load it for 30 years. Once you load it for 30 years, then this materials transportation problem is taken care of. Then problem is of physical protection. Several interesting and funny ideas are also being discussed that, okay, whenever we find at this place this siting is dangerous, then we can lift, and because it is a modular reactor, we can shift somewhere else. But this is a real challenge.
Right.
Security is a challenge, and this will be cost. So now we'll have to calculate the benefit of it, and if really exceeds the cost exceeds the benefit, of course it will be a problem. But if really it doesn't, and the way things are improving, I am slightly optimistic about it. And I have to disagree with my guru here. And I think we should bet our whatever on a smaller modular reactor. I will put my bet on that.
Okay, I'm going to take a poll on this one, since he is willing to put his neck out. Raju is willing to. Dr. Grover, where would you put yourself on small modular nuclear reactors?
I will say that, again, I'll go by what I said earlier. Currently, there is too much of hype. We'll go down to some state of disillusionment, and somewhere it will settle. Where exactly it will settle, it will definitely not be at the level of the current hype. Somewhere in between, that we have to see in the future as to how technology develops.
Rajesh?
India DA, Department of Atomic Energy, is developing 5 small modular reactors as per the budget announcement. And we are into that business. Okay, along with large capacity reactors, we are into SMRs also. We will go along with the need of the hour.
And Alok, you think you'll strike a deal in the next 2 years on this or not? How optimistic?
Well, if you look at the Westinghouse, currently the landscape for the small modular reactor is too crowded. Eventually, probably there will be very few will be at the finishing line.
Excellent.
But Westinghouse has got AP1000, which produces 1200 megawatts, fully modular, SMR AP300. We also have a microreactors, which produces about 5 megawatt of electricity. Refilling cycle is about 8 to 10 years. Works on the open air Brayton cycles. You do not need any on-site water resource requirements. The installation time is...
You're a really good salesman for Westinghouse, I must tell you.
Installation time is 30. I just want to expand the horizon for the audience.
Okay.
You do not want to remain in the well and think that this is all the universe is.
Right.
So that's what my objectives. I think if I could educate people over here, that will be my accomplishment.
And I'm sure all of them listened to what you said. We saw a very realistic presentation here, where we said that the hype curve would begin to rationalize itself. There is enthusiasm for it, but we need to moderate that, as I'm trying to do in this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a very, very warm round of applause for this very fascinating discussion on nuclear. Thank you so much.